Oh, well, we're live. Well, I'm live. So, hold on. I don't know. I can't see anything, how many people are watching or anything like that. There's a link in the comments right there if y'all want to jump on live. Uh, I was talking to several people in tax or chat, and I tried to send them the link, and the link wouldn't go through. Facebook keeps doing that. It says, "Hey, you're trying to solicit more views, and this is wrong by Facebook standards," or something like that. So there's the comment, or the link rather, in the comments. Hold on, let me see. How do I do that? Let me post it again. Post comment. Think that's right. Hold on, I gotta hit all this stuff while I'm. See, whenever Squirrel is here, she handles like the chat and everything like that. There you go. So there was a bunch of people. I was no gaslighting. There was a bunch of people I was just chatting with on Messenger. And I was like, hey, we'll go live real quick and just bullshit for 30 minutes. And that's all this is going to be, at least if any of them jump on here. So give it just 1 minute and see if any of them jump on. Of course, if any of y'all, if anybody that, hey, dog, hey, hey, if anybody wants to jump on here, it's an open invite. Wendell. Wendell, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I do. Happy birthday tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Thank you. What are you doing?
Oh,
Next
as
time we have.
little as possible.
Do what?
Little as possible.
Next time we have a meet and greet, you are getting a Speedo and one of those fucking Baywatch.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
We don't
Oh,
need no X-rated shows.
we've all. Look, Hillary said we've all been. Yep.
Oh, they.
Wendell got the most photos at the last meet and greet, and he did good. He did good.
Well, I try to take pictures mostly for myself. That I share them for anybody else that wants them. So that's what where it goes.
Hey, Neoma.
And I'm not security. I'm just an investigator.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
the badge says.
Okay. Hey, Neoma, if you want to jump on and just, just for filler material, if you want to jump on and tell one of your stories, please, by
That would
all,
be great.
the link is in the chat. Thank you, Denise. I appreciate that. Wait, where'd it go? I don't know. Y'all, I'm not used to doing this. Squirrel normally does. Thank you. I don't know where Greg is. He'll get on here eventually. Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate that. Another year around the moon. Hey, Sharon. Thank you, ma'am. Or, wait. Ah, damn it. What the hell? I keep hitting it, but it's not working. Judy, I see your comment, but there we go. Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Hey, Moggs. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Moggs. Good to see you. Jump in.
Neoma said she would come on. So, hey, whatever. We'll let Neoma tell us the story. Hey, Michael X. How's it going? Greg, hit the damn link and come on real quick. Just for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. I had a lot going on today. Misty's not feeling good, so we pulled a ixnay on the show. I mean, sorry, it happens that.
I don't believe Misty don't feel good. I think she's just hiding again.
No, Squirrel comes. She didn't feel good. Hold on. Who's down here now? There we go. There's House. Shit. It's hard to do from my phone. You there?
Yeah, I think so.
Hey,
All right.
brother.
Oh, Wendell.
A little twisted.
See if I
Anyway,
get
so guys, this probably won't be a long show. It's just that we were all talking and everything, and I was like, "What the hell? We'll jump on real quick."
I posted a picture showing that I was taller than you, Spencer.
You might wait 5'7", you dumbass. I just posted a video showing I'm 5'9".
Exactly what I'm talking about. You're standing on something.
Hold on. So if you're gonna bring that up on a live YouTube show, you think that I'm what 5'5"?
I really don't know.
Okay, Misty said she's 5'5". You think Misty is 5'2"?
No,
No. You want me to
I
go
think she's taller than you.
out here,
I think she's taller than you.
Wendell? I don't. This is a live video. This is why I don't let you on the show because you're fucking stupid. Hold on. Y'all keep talking. Oh my god.
He's going to get the tape measure.
Yes, I am.
Did you see the picture, Greg?
I didn't see it, Wendell. I can't look at it right now.
Yeah, it's in that other. It's in the chat that.
Oh Lord.
The first chat.
Hey, I think he's got Misty out by an inch or two, but it ain't much.
To even bring this up live, you damn moron.
Oh my gosh, Wendell.
You know I got stirred up.
Look what you got started.
Don't know. Wendell, you just don't. Why are you this dumb? What does that say? Oh, wait.
He's there with the
You see it?
yeah, maybe. No.
Oh.
I can't
Hang on. Let me look over here on my TV. See what it says.
turn it.
It's
Hold on.
blurry. I can't tell.
Hold on. Yes.
It's a long I can tell it's a long way to 6 foot though.
You're a fucking moron. Yeah, shut up, Greg. Look here. Look now. Look, sir. Fucking moron, Wendell. You're occupying a lot of my time. Here's 5'9", right?
Yeah,
here. Mark is.
Pyro, I don't know if how thick the onion slices was that Misty had, so it may have increased her height.
Hold on. Look. Here's the tape measure sitting down. Do you see that mark there with the knife right there? 5'9". Can you see that?
Yeah, I see that.
All right.
Hillary wants to see your growth chart behind the door. You got it marked on door casing.
I got my kids. There. I'm 5'9". Wendell, you're a fucking moron, and I think you're taller. You're definitely not 5'7", and we got to teach you how to use the damn tape measure and add. Anyway, that's why we're live, and this is why I don't let you on live.
Wendell's like Turtle Man.
Now we have a real celebrity with us. Be quiet, y'all.
Look at there.
Good morning. Hey, Miss Neoma. Miss Neoma. Good to see you again.
I have no volume.
Uh-oh.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I wonder if she's got Bluetooth on.
Bluetooth on. Just turn Bluetooth off.
I have no volume.
We can hear you. Just go out and
Just
come
go
back in. Yes, we can
What
hear
did you do?
you. We didn't.
I can hear you now too.
Okay. We thought you may have Bluetooth into something.
No, I have. Every time I get into StreamYard, I have to fight to get my volume.
Oh,
I don't know why. It doesn't automatically come on. I have to go in and reset things. I thought I'd reset it, but apparently I had not. So, but all of a sudden you said something and it kind of startled me because I wasn't expecting to hear you.
well, we can hear you plain as day now. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you.
Hey,
How are you doing?
thank you for jumping on. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
All of us are good. Hey, Neoma, now at some point, I'd like to do a whole show with you going back to the beginning and then telling other stories and adding in. But for a lot of people that don't know you, would you either talk about your first experience, which I've heard a couple times? You told me it in person at one of the meet and greets, and then we've heard it on Cam's channel, or one of your stories that you created, whichever one you wanted. I would just love to hear you tell us a story live if you would.
Well, I have a hard time talking about my experience. My experience happens someplace that doesn't make sense for it to have happened there. I get a lot of people who tell me, "Oh, you're lying," which I freaking hate.
Well, that ain't on this channel.
Yeah.
So I have a tendency not to do that, but I'll tell you what I will do. I was in Ohio last weekend for a conference, and I've discovered a cryptid there called orange eyes. Have you ever heard about orange eyes?
No.
No.
I thought that was such an interesting story because, here in Tennessee, we have green eyes, old green eyes. And old green eyes, people will debate back and forth as to whether it's an elemental or it's a Bigfoot or whatever it is, but it is associated with cemeteries. Orange eyes also is associated with cemeteries. And what I loved was this first encounter. The first time anybody ran into orange eyes was in 1959. There were 3 teenagers, and they were, Saturday night, they were out to have fun. 3 teenage boys gonna go out and tear up some crap, as boys will do. And there was a lover's lane in their area, and they decided that they were going to go down to this lover's lane, and probably we assume that they were out there to just, scare people. This was probably about a dozen or so years after the Moonlight killings in Texarkana, Arkansas, which were all done on lovers' lanes. So people were, a little nervous about those things. And of course, we know the hook, the hook on the door handle happened, at a lover's lane. So these boys were just out to scare people.
Okay.
So they get down to the lover's lane, and they don't park on lover's lane. They want to park off and walk in so that they can be as sneaky as they possibly can. And they brought with them one flashlight between the 3. Now, this is your typical lover's lane. It's a narrow road. It twists, it winds, it goes up over rise, down into hollers. Is just as, and it's, it's got the canopy of trees. It's as remote and isolated as you can get. So the boys start walking down this road, and they're talking, and they're, just as boys will do. And the one boy starts telling a story, and he's like, my dad told me something that happened on this lover's lane a long time ago. There was this man, and he caught his wife with another man down here, and he pulled that man out of the car, and he shot his wife, and he skinned that man alive. And the second boy's like, "Oh, you tell stories like that. That's not true." Because let's face it, at least one of those boys wasn't real happy about walking down this lover's lane at night in the dark. But the third one, he's like, "Oh, no, I know that's true. My dad told me that story when I was a kid. That is really true." And they're just kind of going back and forth and kind of creeping each other out. And all of a sudden, they hear something. A twig snaps in the woods. And the second boy says, did you hear that? And the first and the third boys are like, hear what? We didn't hear anything. The second boy said, oh, no, I heard something. Listen. And they're listening really close. And the first boy says, I didn't hear anything. And the second boy says, that's just it. I don't hear anything either. I don't hear any tree frogs. I don't hear any crickets. I don't hear any night birds. It's deadly silent out there. Of course, you know, this kind of set all three of them on edge, and they were like, holy cow, what's, you know, maybe we ought to go back. And the first boy, he was kind of the leader. He's like, no, we're not going back. We set out on a mission. We are headed down this road, and we are going to find some couples, and we are going to scare them. So down the road, they keep going, and they get about 5 more minutes down the road, and they're really not talking to each other at this point. You know, they're kind of just wishing for one lousy tree frog because they're really feeling uncomfortable. And all of the sudden, the first boy's like, I you know what? I just got this awful feeling. We need to go back. And he turns around and they start to back. As soon as they start to head back, this thing steps out of the woods like nothing they've ever seen before. It's 11 feet tall. It's covered in hair. It's massive and it's muscular. And its eyes are glowing this amazing, menacing orange. And it roars at them and it terrifies them. And the boys are, oh, and they turn around and they run deeper down the lane to get away from it. And I mean, they're just booking down the lane till they get about 2 or 3 minutes gone. And they're first boy finally puts out his hands to stop the other two. And he's, oh my God. Oh, okay. Somebody look back. Is it following us? They slowly kind of turn and look over their shoulders. And they look. There's nothing there. They think, okay, whatever that was, we got away from it. We can't go back to our car now. We have to keep going. So they start keeping going right on down the lane. And now they're trying, you know, anything to keep their minds off of what just happened. They're talking about anything they can think about. And they get just a little bit farther down the lane. And finally, the first boy goes, hey, listen. And the other two stop and they're like, what? And he says, can you hear it? It's the tree frogs and it's the crickets and it's the night critters and the night birds and hoot owls hooting out there. And oh, they feel so much better because, you know, it was like a warm hug to hear all these animals making noises again. Life was normal. So the second boy says, well, that's a good sign. I think it's safe to go back now. And the first boy says, oh, no. We're not going back now. It's safe. We're going to go find a car. We're going to go scare some people. So they start back on down the road and they get a little bit farther and it gets really quiet again. And the first boy says, what do you think? I don't want this thing to jump out at us. I don't want this to happen. What do you guys think? And they said, well, you know, maybe we can find some people in a car and they'll give us a ride out of here. We don't have to worry about it. So they're like, okay. So they start going forward again. And out of the woods, this thing jumps at them and screams. You know, it's terrifying. And it starts running after them. And the boys turn around and they run as fast as they can. And they get all the way out to the other end of the lane. And they really had to run this time because they'd walked quite a ways in there. And they get all the way out to the car. And the first one says to the others, did it follow us? Did it follow us? And the second one looks back and he's looking back, this thing jumps out of the woods. And they jump in their car and they pull away just as it reaches the car and slams its hand down on the back of the car. That's the first encounter with a creature that came to be known as orange eyes in Ohio. And it fascinates me because, like I said, there is a creature in Tennessee, down in Chattanooga, known as old green eyes. And both of those creatures, now they came to decide that orange eyes actually came from the nearby cemetery. And that's where he originally lived. Green eyes in Tennessee was first seen on the battlefield at Chickamauga and was later seen at the cemetery of the soldiers that died there. So there you go.
Okay. If I was, it's a good story. and you tell it really well. And I want to ask you questions about, like, I think there's probably a difference in people's perspective that are authors and
Mhm.
tell stories professionally or somewhat professionally and everything, and the way that they do all that kind of stuff. I think there's difference that, like, for example, whenever you hear Greg right there talk about like the motorcycle event that happened with him,
Mhm.
there's emotion in his voice and everything. And I'm just saying, I think the difference between the way that people relate stories whenever they are telling a story versus something that actually happened to them.
Right,
And
because you felt that when it happened to you.
and it's hard to tell. I mean, you can't, nobody in this field, if you're talking about Bigfoot stuff, nobody is a professional. Nobody is an expert. Everybody is basing everything off of what they've experienced or other people's experiences. And we're weighing and measuring how the people communicate it with us. Now, you're a really good storyteller. I've seen you tell stories in person. Just like Cam. Cam is a great either storyteller or somebody reading the stuff that they're emailing to him, but it's just his demeanor and his tone of voice and the accent that he puts on certain. Now, I would say though, Greg, here, think about what I'm getting ready to say. If they came out of a harrowing experience, like walking down there, something jumped out and they actually got a glimpse of it and it screamed at shit, where'd she go?
Oh,
Well, I'll wait for her to get back. But I was gonna say they got scared, they ran out, and then they're like, "Hey, now we can hear the tree frogs and the noises again." And they were like, "Oh, well, shit, let's turn around and go back and do it again." What we were gonna do? House.
look. If I'd been a player in that story, first off, I'm too damn crippled up and fat to run from anything. And second off, they would have been a whole paragraph about I wheeled my 357 out and got to thumb cocking it like Josie Wales.
Well, hold on. Are you telling me that if you were attacked by dogman and boogers in the middle of a forest and you managed to make it out in a fucking truck, you went all the way and then turned around and went back and parked in the middle of the field? That's what these boys did. They went out and came back for more.
Yeah,
You went
I
uh
went back. I went back for more, but it was after a few days of soul searching and redneck stubbornness bowling up.
it
And
was
I'll
it
I'll I'll promise you it wasn't within the next few hours or anything like that because I've been there. I look.
you didn't
I went home and put my stuff up and said I'm stupid, man. I'm
you
crazy.
you
I'm not going back.
hold on. You didn't turn around, go right back and spend the night in the middle of a field?
No, sir. No.
No.
No, and matter of fact, I didn't go to sleep sometimes for 2 days. And then when I finally did go to sleep, it was intermittent because it was riddled with nightmares and
Hey,
everything else. And yeah, no.
hey, on the nightmare thing, if you don't mind talking about it, you've talked to some of us, you've talked about it publicly a little bit, but on the nightmare thing, with that, with the stuff, the way that it comes to you, and you didn't really see the face in your nightmares, the connection between not really seeing the face and what your nightmares. Oh no, there she is.
Yeah.
Are you there?
There she is.
There you go. Uh,
It just shut out.
Guys can
Well,
hear. I can't hear myself.
well, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
so we need to learn
Speak.
sign language.
We
You may have got us.
I
we gotta have signs. We gotta have like poster board that we can just hold up. Can you hear us?
The only sign language I know, I promise you, is not appropriate.
Hear you. No. This is no. This is yes. That's all you need to know.
Neoma.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lost connection right at the freaking climax. Right
I
at
know.
the.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
It's my setup here is a little rinky dink. So anyway, so you're pointing out that people have a different emotion when they have something actually happen to them.
And I'm pointing out, like, for example, because Greg is on here, and I mean, I've had real experiences, but not anything compared to like what Greg has had, or a bunch of people that I know, not that traumatic. And the part where the guys are walking back out after they had the thing jump out, they're walking back out and they're like, oh, wait, we can hear the stuff again. Okay, now everything is cool. Let's go back to our original plan. I promise you that 99.9% of people that
will not feel that way.
that have real experiences, they
And
want.
let me tell you something. When I had my experience, I would not go back to that area.
Yeah.
For over a decade.
Yeah, years.
So,
years.
Yeah, I got that. Unfortunately, this is just a story. And, you know, over the years, it had been embellished and changed. And I always try to remind people of that. When I'm telling a story, first of all, I'm going for the scare. And secondly, I often don't have the original to go off of. I have years and years of retellings that change.
Were you trying to highlight the point about the natural ambient noise going away? Because if so, I think that's a really salient point that more people need to pay attention to. Me personally, there's probably 2, maybe 3 times where I was out somewhere and all at once I noticed that the noise had disappeared. At least 2. That all at once the noise was gone. It was completely silent. And it takes you several steps into that before you really actually realize that, hey, there's no ambient noise. I mean, it's quiet as a church, you know?
At first it's like your mind says, okay, something's not right, and then you have to like go through what isn't right, because those noises are so embedded in your world that you don't really notice when you're not there at first, you know, or you do notice, but you don't really know what it is that's missing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get that. 100%.
100%. Yeah. Well, anyway, hey, come on, tell us one more. I gotta go check on what I'm getting ready to cook and make sure it's thawed. Go on, tell us one more story. Pretty please.
Okay. Well, do you want like another Bigfoot story, or do you want? I can tell it's coming up on Halloween. I can tell.
It is. It's October, so anything goes. Spooky, scary, Bigfoot, dog man, little green man. It don't matter.
Well, have you ever heard of Bloody Bones?
Not that I remember. I may, after you tell it, I may have heard. Not that I know of.
It's Bloody Bones is a legend that actually originates in England. And the story in England is so far removed from what I know in the Ozarks that it's almost hilarious. Now, my whole family is from the Ozarks. I'm the only Yankee in the family. My sister and I, we jokingly call ourselves Yankee Billies because we were born in the North, but we were raised by hillbillies. And all of our stories that we heard growing up were based on that period, or that place, and that would be Northwest Arkansas, Southwest Missouri. That was the big place. And then my mom's side of the family is actually from the East Bottoms, but it's another story. And there's a big debate. If you talk to someone from the Appalachians, they will tell you no, Bloody Bones is our story. People from the Ozarks will tell you Bloody Bones is our story. Bones is an English story. But this is the version that I know. And I'm going to make up names because I can never remember one time to the next what names I use. There was once this elder lady. She was very old. She had always been old. Everybody in the town who had been alive always knew her as being old, so no one ever really knew how old she was. And she was so old, she kind of looked decrepit. She had that one hunched shoulder, and she kind of looked at the world, kind of bent over and out from under her eyebrows. And she had one of those big old long noses, and she had a mole in her chin with a big curly hair hanging out. Her eyes went this way and her eyes went that way, and they were yellow and watery, and she was kind of scary looking. And everybody,
That reminds me of one of my teachers I had.
and everybody called her a witch. I'm gonna call her Hazel, Witch Hazel. I like that. Well, now Witch Hazel, she lived way down in the bottoms all by herself in this cabin that nobody ever came to because everybody was scared of her. Nobody would ever go around there except maybe late at night if there was a woman who had a man that she was especially in love with, but who wouldn't look at her. She might go to Witch Hazel and she might get a love potion. Or there might be a mother whose child was sick and the doctors couldn't fix that child. She might go to Witch Hazel and get a remedy for the child. But for the most part, people didn't like to mess with Witch Hazel because she lived down in those woods all by herself with nothing but a dog and a cat and a pet pig named Rawhead. Now, Rawhead was the biggest razorback hog you ever saw in your life. But there was something awful weird about this pig because some of those people who did creep down to her house at night, sometimes they'd look in the window and they'd see her in there dancing with Rawhead, just like he was a man. And she always called him her very best friend. Rawhead, he's my best friend. My goodness, Rawhead, he goes everywhere with me. And in fact, on the rare occasion when Miss Hazel came to town, Rawhead was always right there by her side, and she had her walking stick, and she'd be coming down the street, and she might go past the barber shop, and the barber, he'd go inside because he didn't want to talk to Miss Hazel. But she'd always smile and wave as she walked by the window, and there was Rawhead right with her. She'd go a little bit farther down the street, and she might pass the insurance office, and the insurance agent, he'd go inside, and he'd close the door because I just got notification, guys, that you guys are on today. I'm sorry. It came up on my screen and distracted me. And she, he'd go inside because he didn't want to talk to Miss, but she'd wave when she came by. She'd go to the grocery store and she'd get what she needed. And she never really needed much because she got most of what she needed from the forest. But every now and then she'd have to come in for coffee or flour or something like that. And so she'd go in, and the grocer, he, business is business. He'd talk to her, but he wasn't real fond of her any more than anybody else was. But I always would get to the butcher shop. That butcher, he'd come right out and he'd say, Miss Hazel, when you going to sell me that pig? I would never sell this pig, she said. This pig is my best friend. But Miss Hazel, we could make a lot of money off that pig. There's a lot of meat on there. And I'm telling you, we could make a lot of money off that pig. Oh, no, said Miss Hazel. I could not do that. I could never, ever sell my pig, especially for you to slaughter him because he is my best friend. Well, this would happen over and over and over again. And then one day, Miss Hazel came into town. She was hurrying as fast as she could, but that pig wasn't with her. And she went to the barber shop. She knocked on the door and she said, Mr. Barber, have you seen my pig? No, ma'am, I have not seen your pig. And she gone up the street a little farther. She knocked on the insurance agent's door. Mr. Insurance Agent, have you seen my pig? And he says, no, ma'am, I have not seen your pig. And she goes to the grocery store and she's knocking on the door and she says, Mr. Grocer, you've seen my pig. And he says, Miss Hazel, look across the street. And she turned around, and even without his skin on him, she recognized Rawhead hanging in the butcher's window. He'd come and he'd stolen that pig away from her, and she went over to him. She said, "You killed my pig! You killed my pig! How could you have done that?" And he says, "Well, he was out in the woods, and I saw him, and free game." She says, "I hate you, and I'm going to get even with you. Whatever I do for the rest of my life, I will make sure you're going to pay for this." Well, she goes on home, and after about a week or two, people started to worry because, nobody had heard from her. So there was a group of men, and they decided to go on down in the woods and see if they could find Hazel and make sure she was okay. They got to her house, and as they were coming up the path, they noticed an odd green glow coming from the windows. And they thought, "This is odd. I've never seen this before." And they sneak around and look in the window, and they see Miss Hazel. She's standing at the fireplace, and she's stirring a cauldron, and she's mumbling some words, and green bubbles are coming out of the cauldron, and you can tell that she's making some kind of a strange motion. And they're like, "Yeah, we don't need to know any more about this." Well, that same day, later that day, or the next day, I guess you'd say, the butcher, he closed up his shop. He went on home. Now, he had a little farm that he had to deal with too. Besides his butcher shop, he had a cow there. He had to milk and some chickens and that kind of thing. So he goes home and he makes himself a nice meal, and then he heads out to the barn to milk the cow. And he's out there milking. He's already fed the chickens and gathered the eggs and all that. And he's just milking away. And he hears a funny noise, and he kind of looks around him. He doesn't see anything. And so he goes back to milking, and he hears that noise again. He looks around, and there in the corner, he sees this strange thing beginning to formulate. And he's looking at it, and it gets more solid, and it gets bigger, and it turns into a pig. And he looks at it, and he knows right away, this is Rawhead. And he says, What are you doing?" And the pig says, "I want my bones." And he said, I don't have your bones. I sold them all off when I sold your meat. I ain't got no bones for you." And his pig says, "I want my bones." And he said, "But I don't have your bones. I sold them all. I don't have them to give to you." And the pig says, "Give me my bones." And the guy says, "Oh my God, I don't have them to give to you. They're all gone. They've been cooked up. They're done." And the pig says, "Then I'll take yours." The next day, the butcher shop didn't open. Some of the men in town thought, "Well, that's odd. He never misses a day. He's too greedy. He'd never close up his shop for a day." So they go on out to the house, and they go inside, and they find where he had a nice dinner. Never cleaned up the dishes, but he'd had a nice dinner. They go out to the barn, and they find the cow still in the stanchion. The milk's still there in the bucket. They find the chickens still in the coop, but they can't find that man. And from that day forward, if you happen to be out in the holler on a cold, windy night, you'll hear that hog that they now call Bloody Bones chasing after him. And you'll hear him screaming, "I ain't got your bones." And that's my favorite story when I was a little kid. I loved it when my uncle used to tell me that story.
That's one hell of a damn nursery rhyme, ain't it?
But here's the story that you should know. My mother worked third shift all of my life, and I had a sister who was 5.5 years older than me. And so at bedtime, it came time to read stories. My sister read the stories. She had, about the time I was 5, she got into this real big thing with Edgar Allan Poe, and those were my bedtime stories for years.
God.
I know and I was a really super shy child. I would not, my first grade teacher used to really get upset because she would look back and I wouldn't be in my seat, and she'd have to go back to the cloakroom, and she'd find me buried in the bottom of the closet in the cloakroom because I was I just couldn't be around people. I was horrified. I couldn't talk to people. Can you imagine me not talking to people? But I was that way. And and I'll never forget, I came into class one day and I said to her, her name was Mrs. Weiner. I said, "Mrs. Weiner, can I tell the kids a story, a got a poem. I want to tell him a poem. She was so excited because I was willing to get up in front of the class and talk. She didn't even ask me what it was. She just sent my happy ass up there, and I stood up there and I recited Edgar Allan Poe.
Hey,
Wow.
well, I will tell you, I think you are better than a storyteller. I think you need to do like a stage act or something like that. You got that kind of energy that
Yeah.
translates more whenever people can see you and feel you. I've been around you at camp, so I've seen you in person, but a lot of people haven't. And I think you've got more of the energy of a stage act.
It's interesting that you say that because I have been putting a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel, and a lot of that is because I have been fighting some kind of serious illnesses, but also because I actually want to refigure my. I don't like the way I do my stories, and my husband he's up in Illinois and has been for months, but fingers crossed he's coming home Wednesday. And when he comes home, we're going to build a studio, and I'm going to do my show where tell my stories where you can see,
Yeah,
I'm pretty animated when I'm telling stories.
yeah.
And
You should 100% do that, and you should start, in my opinion, with some Edgar Allan Poe stuff because I mean Poe is known. It's got a base. It's kind of like Shakespeare. You know what I mean? But
mhm.
you should start out with that. I mean, that's good stuff. The way you animate and the way that you express yourself, I think you would do better showing all of that in person because it's hard to get the actual expression whenever you're just talking. Now, having said that, you do a really good job of editing and doing some of the stories for camp. Like I love it whenever I hear your voice reading the stories because it gives a dynamic that is different and everything. But you should completely do something, in my opinion.
Well, it's interesting because I just finished a story that I was thinking of sending to Cam. It's not really part two of how legends are. I don't know if you've heard the how legends are born.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you had, but I don't know if you have, Spencer.
No,
So I did 3 different stories of 3 different events in the same area over 3 different time frames, explaining how a legend is born, or a myth, or okay. So this is sort of like the same thing, but now I'm wondering if I should do it on my own channel.
do it, do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a channel right now where we talk about like Bigfoot, Dogman, and I mean the Night Owls thing of the Woodwalkers, which is Greg and Misty. They cover all kinds of different stuff. But I think at this point on YouTube, people are just looking for channels that have real people on them,
Yeah.
express themselves any which way. And I think as long as you're being real and honest, it doesn't really matter what you do. It's areas that you're talented in would be the wrong phrase, but like areas that you have a natural you know what I'm saying, like a natural thing to be there where you're just being yourself and it's part of yourself. Do
Genuine. When you're
whatever.
being genuine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean like even in the Bigfoot field, so like right now, me, Greg, and Miss have a show.
Hmm.
We're just being ourselves. I mean, the way that you see us right now, I think a lot of people at this point can admit to they've seen us in person at meet and greets. They see us like talking in chats and everything. And we're the same. We're the exact same way as we are on here. And I think people are very suspicious of bullshit at this point in age because of politics and news and all kinds of stuff that they're seeing. And I think the most important thing is to just be yourself. And as long as you're original and yourself, you're always going to have some kind of following. But you are completely made for telling and acting them out, because just telling stories is not the same as seeing you in, like right now on this video right now. Your animation is so good that needs to be broadcasted. It can't just be audibly. It has.
Gosh. I don't know. My head's not going to get through the door in a minute if you don't stop.
Nah, you're really good.
You
You do. You're really good at what you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love doing it. And you know, all of my life, I've never been good at talking with people one-on-one, and that goes all the way back to childhood. Clearly, I mean, that was my problem as a kid. I could stand in front of an audience and talk all day long, but one-on-one terrifies me. And so it's nice to know that what I love to do most, which is just talk in front of people, is something I'm actually good at.
Let me ask you something that is going to go down a rabbit hole. And I wasn't trying to do a show like this whenever we did this, but let me ask you this. Do you think that you have some level of empathy or emotion and feeling that you convey whenever you read something, understand something, feel something, and like it just kind of flows through you and you express it?
I think I'm really good at, I mean, I can pull the emotion out of a situation and feel that and express it quite well. In fact, if you notice the difference between, I always say Cameron Buckner, D.A. Roberts, and I, we're all writers.
Yeah.
D.A. Roberts is all about the action. I mean, you know, nobody does action like he does. Cam has that sense of humor that just, you know, I love that. But me, it's emotion. If you listen to the story Hunted or Hunted Part 2, that's all about the emotion of losing a grandfather, losing a mother, and having to deal with life as you're dealing with the emotion of loss. Neither one of those two stories is actually about the dogman at all. That's why I get so many comments on there. This would have been a good story if you would have talked just about dogman. And it's like, but that wasn't what the story was about. It was about the emotion.
You're dealing with the audience. So just like Dixie Cryptid, you're dealing with the audience that is tuning in to hear stories about Bigfoot, sometimes Dogman.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with the audience that is tuning in to be entertained about a storyline. Now, some of the stuff that Cam talks about is real. I mean,
right. Most of it is.
Yeah. There are people writing in. You know, I'm a big Steve Lilly fan, and that's based off of his creative mind making a story from all of the crap that people send in on you know, like a day-to-day basis. And Cam comes out, to his credit, he's not just an author, he's an experiencer, whether he like claims whatever he's seen stuff or not, but he comes out and he looks for stuff. And I mean, he's been out with Eric and Kane and Mark and Larry, and he's come to our meet and greets and everything like that. And Cam,
by the way, I just really want to put a quick plug in for that documentary. I love that documentary, the one that he did with Eric, and oh my stars, I love that documentary. He did such a great job on that. I'm sorry, I just had to say that.
No.
I just love that documentary.
But we're drawing a contrast.
Mm-hmm.
I would say between this channel and others, but I'm not going to be that like self-bloviating. We're drawing a contrast between the real deal and a lot of stuff that, I mean, some of it is storytelling. Some of it is reading stuff that everybody submits as real things, and you have no way to prove it one way or the other.
Oh, you really can't.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking that. I mean, I listen to Dixie Cryptids. I love it. At the same time, I go out and do the real thing. Greg lives with the real thing, has experienced the real thing. There is 100 people right now I could bring on any show that would tell you, yes, in my opinion, this shit is real. And it goes from one side of the spectrum to the other, where it's like people that experience stuff that was completely, I don't know, woo. I hate saying that, but completely mystical, magical, all the way to physical, to the point where they're like, yeah, that it acted and behaved like an ape. Great.
So, oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish your point.
No.
I'm really bad at interrupting.
I'm just saying we are covering an area that goes from way over here to way over there. And we're trying to give everybody a voice and have an opinion about it. And we're trying, at least us as the channel, we're trying to be non-judgmental and let everybody have their moment to say what they're going to say. At the end of the day, though, there are some people that are making stories. There are some people that are telling their experiences that are so out there. It's hard for the average person to accept, wrap their mind around. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And any little bit of levity, I mean, especially whenever people are being honest and saying, hey, I'm telling a story about this, any little bit of levity, it weighs in and it's helpful. And I was simply trying to start out with everything that you do. You're a very good storyteller. You're probably a better stage actor than a storyteller. But like, I mean, between that kind of stuff and cam and everything, and then you have the real hardcore people. Oh, we have hardcore people that document real evidence,
Mm-hmm.
but they present it so dry that a lot of people can't follow along or get behind it, for lack of a better way of describing it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Miss. Anyway, sorry.
I agree with that. So I wanted to point out, first of all, I am never going to tell somebody who's in the boot camp that they're not seeing what they're seeing, because I've never experienced it. But because I've never experienced it, I have a hard time accepting it. But when Cam sends me a story, or he sent me a stories at one time, group of emails, and he doesn't really look through them. He just grabs them and sends them to me.
Yeah.
And I'm going across them. There are a few that I think are so freaking out of, I'm sorry. I mean, they're just so beyond out there. I won't do them. I'll sit back and I'll say, look, if you want to do this, you go right on ahead. I'm sorry. This is not my world. And it's not that I'm trying to say that I don't think, I'm not going to argue with people who say that they've seen this, because if they say they've seen it, who am I to say they haven't? Nothing irritates me more than to be told that what happened to me in 1984 or 1985 was a lie, or that I didn't see it, or the worst of all, it was mistaken identity.
Hold on. I asked you to talk about it. Now, see, now bringing it up.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
At some point, you've got to, in a very serious way, talk about what happened to you. I mean, that's what we do. We're really good at getting people to just talk. Just talk. In this community, you have to admit this, in this community, it's very lopsided. There are a lot of people that are very willing to talk about their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that are not, because they think they're going to be chastised or made fun of or whatnot. And I would say again, and I hate to keep referencing House, but Greg is on this show. Greg is like our guy that has had the most experience and everything compared to somebody else. And
Yeah, I was going to tell you, Greg, I am never coming to your house. Just saying. Don't even send the invite.
Oh my goodness.
no, his house
Regrets
is
only.
good. It's good. It's good because his place, the man cave, is good because he's very careful about the conditions, about the rules. Like, don't go out there and do calls. Don't go out there and beat on trees and everything. House, why do you do that?
Why don't I? Because I done dealt with these things for years when they were belligerent and mean and didn't like me at all. And then once I actually accidentally kind of made peace with them, I don't know what it would. Hell, I made peace with them by accident. I don't want to screw it up by accident.
Right.
And I don't want to ever go back to where it was, 20 years ago. That was rough. Now, seriously, I mean, I love where my cabin is. It's beautiful. I mean, I'm right on the river. But if I had to go back through what it was in the early 2000s, the first 10, 12 years of this, I'd sell this place in a heartbeat, and then I'd feel guilty about selling it to somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's life changing to see what I saw, to go from where I was. I'm like a lot of people. I'm not gonna say I didn't believe in them, but I thought they're somewhere besides here. Not ever did I think that they were here, because I was the guy. I was the guy that grew up in the woods. I was the guy that killed my first deer at 4 years old. My dad was dragging me to the woods, every weekend during hunting season. I mean, we hunted and we fished. We were in the woods. We grew up in the woods. We grew up on a farm. I was the same guy that said that would have made the statement, there's nothing like that around here. I've been in the woods my whole life. There ain't nothing like that. But then life changes. Life changes quick, fast, and in a damn hurry when you start realizing what's going on. And then I put up with it for nearly 9 years before I ever actually physically with my own eyes saw one. And then that sure enough, that was like a whole awakening. And then I had this same talk with Coonbo last night. We talked for 2 hours, and we were talking about how, like kind of what Spencer touched on, that the woo side of it. When I'm talking with him, and since I've been buddies with Coonbo, I got to watch his whole perception of these things change from meat, blood, and bone and physical to, oh wow,
Yeah.
I've been doing
And
this for 40 years, and now I've just witnessed this, and I can't, like for him, he couldn't explain it. And then that's when the woo factor, and then it's like people start bringing out tidbits of, the woo, and it's like, well, you got to kind of embrace that too, because
Yeah,
there's
I
so,
totally
and
agree. I just need to see it before I can
oh yeah,
understand.
I agree.
and what about the people that for the very first time living a normal life, not believing in any of this stuff, not
Yeah,
experienced in any of this, and the very first time they have an experience, something woo happens, evolved in that experience, a lot of them are just written off, ostracized from the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? It's different with people that are talking like Kumbo. It's different with people that are talking about the subject for 20 years. and then they're gradually mentioning the woo thing versus the person that the very first time that they ever saw anything, they were out hunting, they were in a fucking climbing stand, and they saw something materialize out of a portal. I've got nothing on that. I can't weigh in on one way or the other, but they're ostracized from the whole community and made fun of. They don't even have friends in the Bigfoot community because they start out, hey, my first experience was I saw something step out of a portal. I'm not saying one way or the other, y'all. All I'm saying is everybody, if you're willing to believe in boogers, if you're willing to, even if you've had no experience in it, if you're willing to believe in boogers and you're going to chastise somebody that starts out going, hey, I saw a portal open, something stepped out, and it was Bigfoot. I'm not making the case for one side or the other. What I am saying is, if you're willing to believe in Bigfoot, be open minded to all kinds of stuff because who knows how this goes. There are no experts in this field. I
Well,
this we know humans, and we know the way that humans respond to certain things, and you can kind of use that as a measurement, kind of. But I mean, everybody's a little bit different, so people may respond differently. But
yeah.
some of this stuff, I mean, you really got to sit down and put your own bias aside and think about the way that somebody is saying something with emotion and technicalities and facts behind it. I get really mad at all these people that just rule out half of what everybody is saying in the Bigfoot world. We're not experts. Nobody is an expert. We're not experts. You cannot just automatically push somebody aside because of the way that they describe it.
Spencer, I think a lot of times it's people are really looking for the answer, and that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's looking for the answer, the knowledge of what's going on and what this is, and what everybody's dealing with. And I think sometimes it's just a whole lot easier to pick what part of it that you want
There you are.
to listen to, and if you kind of base your theory on something, by the
Yeah.
time you get your theory based, somebody's throwing something that totally turns over the basket of eggs, and you're not willing for somebody to dump your basket of eggs out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, wait a minute. I've got, and that's why I tell people, look, every damn time I think I got an answer, that answer caused 10 more questions. And it's like a never ending rabbit hole of bullshit to deal with. And like what we do on this show, you know, that's why it's so important to me for us to kind of be the safe space for people to feel comfortable
Yeah.
to come and talk and realize that, hey, I may not agree with what you say, but that's my opinion and I'm not going to voice it. I mean, I'm willing to listen to anybody about anything.
E-
I'm,
That's
Even
one
if
of the things that I have a hard time with, and I know I'm going to get myself in trouble here because I know how most people feel about it.
be careful.
But well, this is what I'm going to tell you. I wish that I could see everybody because I would ask them to raise their hand. How many people have been told that what you saw was really just a bear? That it
Oh
was.
my! Don't
know,
even that.
right? Uh-huh.
That
So
has
then,
no.
can you please explain to me how people who are true, honest to goodness Bigfoot people can look at somebody who says they saw a dog man and say, no, what you just saw was a Bigfoot. You're confused.
Wait, hold on, Neoma. Whenever you were a little kid, did you have a teddy bear?
I did.
Did you know what a bear looked like in real life? Like a bear
Absolutely.
as like 6, 7, 8 years old. Did you know what a bear looked like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I will say this publicly. Listen to me very carefully because I don't want it to be misinterpreted. If you grow up in an area with bear, and that goes all the way from the very north of the country, especially on the East Coast, down to the South, and then on the West Coast, it's up there north, down to the South. There are parts of the middle of the country. A lot of people grow up with bear. Now, having said that, I'm in a very, very active bear area. West Virginia is, I don't know, 1 hour close to me going west.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not even that. But my point is, if you grow up with bear, where bear are, you see bear, you identify bear, even as a little kid. If you're in an area that doesn't have bear, you know what a bear looks like. You've seen videos, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A human being does not misinterpret a bear for something else. A bear is very clearly defined thing. Whenever we see it, the way the ass of the bear sticks up a little bit, the way they wobble when they walk, the ears on top of the head. Humans know what a bear is from a very early age. If you take somebody that is 25, 30 years old and they're like, oh, it looked like a bear standing up. A booger doesn't look like that. A booger don't look like that. Great. Does a booger look like a bear?
Dude, what I've seen, what I saw, the ones that I've got real good looks at, that would be like me showing you a picture of a billy goat and you saying that's an elephant.
Right.
I mean, that's the difference.
Yes. It's not. These people that are saying that they saw a Bigfoot and other people are going, oh, they saw a bear. I mean, that might be 1 out of 10,000. Trust me on this. I've been around it. I can't say that I clearly saw it. I saw stuff with thermal, and I've seen glimpses of stuff, and it didn't look like a bear. And I've got a lot of bear around me. The people
Now,
that
go ahead.
go ahead. Nah,
I hate to bring up my own
Go
sighting
ahead.
without telling the whole darn story, but
Go
uh,
ahead. Go ahead. I'm interested.
we keep drawing you into this.
I know you're going to get me to tell that damn story, aren't you?
Come on,
That's
Neoma.
what we're working on.
Yeah.
The thing that is really hard about my story is, first of all, I have to admit, I saw a silhouette. I didn't see details. I saw a silhouette step across an opening.
Yeah.
The other thing is, there ain't no fucking bears where I saw that thing. There's just not. I mean, in northern Illinois, northwestern Illinois, where I saw that at, there just are no bears there. So I'm just saying.
Neoma,
But yeah,
we are 1 hour and 8 minutes into this thing. Trying to just talk about it. Come on. This
normally I prepare myself, okay, and I have a hard time. And if I cry, I'm going to be mad at you, okay?
okay.
Hey, I'll sit right here and cry with you. I
All
don't care. I'm not going to ask you to laugh with me if I won't cry with you.
Well,
Just talk to us. Talk to us.
We're sitting around the campfire.
Yes.
in 1984, I was 19 years old, and I was 5 or 6 months pregnant with my younger son. My older son was not quite 2. That their birthdays are about a week apart, by the way. So he was not quite 3. I'm sorry. He was 2.5. And my first husband, who died a couple of weeks ago, so I feel bad talking ill of him for about 2 seconds.
Oh.
I get over it real fast because he's a bad person. But
That's horrible.
we lived in a cabin on the Mississippi River, and I mean, we were poor. We were so poor we couldn't pay attention. And if you want to know exactly where my sighting was, get on a map and find Interstate 80, find where 280 breaks off and where 280 crosses the Mississippi River. My cabin sat right next to that bridge, way down because it was up high, and it was a place called Big Island in Milan, Illinois. I think now it's Rock Island, Illinois, but it used to be Milan, Illinois. And that cabin had nothing to heat it except for a fireplace. We had electricity and we had indoor plumbing, and we felt like we were rich for having that. And my first husband, Larry, would go out and he would coon hunt at night and sell the coon hides, and that's how we were surviving. And he'd run trout lines, and that was the only money we had at the time, was the money that he would make on the hides and the fish when he'd run trout lines. And because we didn't have a phone, my best friend would come down when he'd go out at night, and she would sit with me at the cabin, so that I wasn't there alone in case something happened. And we would sit in front of the fireplace and we would play gin rummy. And I would put a blanket between us. On the fireplace was over here, and I would put the blanket over here on the floor. My son would lay there, my 2-year-old, and he'd sleep. And we would play gin rummy, and we'd play and play and play all night long. And we were sitting there playing. I think it was late November, early December. And something hit the cabin. Now, we had this old hide-a-bed sofa. And I mean, it was one of those old, really heavy, lots of iron inside sofas, and it didn't have legs on it, so we had it sitting on cement blocks because, like I said, we were poor. I mean, poverty-stricken. And I'm sorry if my microphone keeps making that noise. I don't know what to do about it.
Okay.
Anyway, and I realized only recently that whatever hit the cabin had to have done it from underneath, because that big old heavy sofa, when it hit the cabin, it flipped it forward onto the floor.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it had to be a hard hit to hit it like that and turn that sofa over. Well, I got up and I had a black powder pistol. It was a Smith & Wesson, and I couldn't tell you if it was a 44 or 45, whichever one they make. So I don't think they made one. But anyway, I went out, and there was a porch that ran the whole length of the cabin facing the Mississippi River. And I walked both ends, and I looked. I didn't see anything underneath that cabin, but I fired 3 rounds from the pistol so that my husband would know to come home. And about 2 or 3 hours later, because he was way off in the woods, he finally showed up, and we told him what happened. And he walked around the cabin because I wasn't about to get off the porch. And, and this is a river cabin.
I bet.
It's way up high, And so he walked all around it, and he saw where the lattice had been yanked off right under where the sofa was. And but he couldn't. It was freezing cold out, so there are no footprints or anything, no smell, anything like that I remember. But I was convinced, because I have been all about Bigfoot since I was a little kid. And so, I was thinking, I think this was a Bigfoot. And of course, everybody laughed at me. And at that point, they probably should have, because I had no reason to believe that at that moment, other than the fact that I was a 19-year-old kid with a really good imagination. So one thing I will tell you is that from that point forward, I never left that cabin before sunrise, and I never got home after dark. I stayed inside when it was dark out because I didn't want him to know what was out there at night. And then in January, it was only another month later, there was an ice jam on the Mississippi, and that whole island got flooded, and we got flooded out and lost everything. In fact, we went out on that river. Larry put me and my son in a John boat, and he put hip waders on and pushed us out through the ice. That's how we got out of there. And I wouldn't go back down there. I had no interest in, and I'd been raised on that island. My grandmother lived at the inhabited end of the island. And my grandparents did. And my grandfather and he was a fisherman, and I was his shadow. And we fished together all up and down the Mississippi and the Rock River and the Hennepin Canal there. And I knew that island like the back of my hand. But I was done going down there. I didn't want to. I go to my grandma's house. That's as far down that island as I would go. And my husband, to his credit, he wanted me to get over this because I love to fish and I couldn't fish. That was his favorite fishing spot. So he got it in his head that if he could get me to go down there, I'd get over my fear. And so he took me down there. It was me. Now, this was in July of 1985. It was the summer after that happened at the cabin. And he took, when you take little kids night fishing with you, that's a chore. Because, we had a 5-month-old baby or 4-month-old baby. We had a 3-year-old. I had to bring a playpen with a mosquito net over it. And I had to bring my older son's fishing pole and something for them to eat and the whole 9 yards. And so we packed up, went down there, and I set up. And I don't know why he set me on this. It was a backwater pond. And I'm not kidding you. Did you want to say something? Oh.
No.
There was nothing in that pond but dogfish. You know what dogfish is? If I say dogfish, okay, because a lot of people don't know what I mean by that, but it looks kind of like a garb, and it's
yeah.
And I mean, there was no way I was going to eat that if I caught it. So I really didn't fish, but it was something for my 3-year-old, to put the line in. My husband walked all the way down because there's a good pond, but it was a long walk down into the island, and he took off walking down there, and he left me and my 3-year-old and the 4-month-old. I put the 4-month-old in the playpen, and he was sleeping. And my 3-year-old, eventually, I made him a hot dog, and we roasted marshmallows. And he got tired and fell asleep. And I put him in the playpen, and I covered him up with the mosquito netting. And I was just sitting there, kind of looking at It was too close to town to really have a good view of the sky, but what are you going to do? I'm just kind of sitting there looking up, and I was sitting on this little, it was a 5-gallon bucket that had a cushion on it. That was my seat. And that's how far down to the ground I was. And I started, there was something making a noise behind me. Oh, Jesus.
Hold on, Neoma. I'm gonna pull you back out of this because I don't want you to get. You okay?
I'm sorry.
No.
It just makes me so mad when I think about this because God help me, this is what happened.
No. Hold
on. Look, Neoma. Look, hey, I know what it's like. I know exactly. When some of my encounters, when I talk about them, I'm there doing it again.
And I would add, there is no way that somebody is making up a story talking about mosquitoes and the way that you braced up the damn baby fold out thing, all that kind of stuff. Baby,
hey,
we're listening to you. We know you're
look, I know what you're going through. That's just like when Katie had me broke down because I watched Katie relive it. And y'all, that's why I tell Spencer, and I've told people on here, some of my encounters, I have to be careful how deep I get into it because I'll be broke down too.
I promise you,
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I want you guys to know something. This is not a negative encounter. I don't know why I get this way, because when you hear the whole encounter, it's really not a negative encounter, but I don't know why, other than the fact that it just makes me so mad because I've been told so many times that I'm not telling the truth, or that I saw something that I didn't see, or whatever.
Well, I mean, if you were talking to just me, you've talked to a couple people around the campfire about this, and I don't know any way to simulate that or anything.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I just usually have to have a little bit of, when I know I'm going to tell it, I can get over this. It takes me a second.
you, you can mentally prepare yourself, but right
Yeah,
now, not. And I think the emotion is more indicative of the real thing that
yeah,
happened. And just so try not to feel it so much. Try
yeah,
and just keep on talking.
Well, it's well, like with any life altering experience, you're gonna get overwhelmed with emotion. It don't make a damn what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really is, and that's exactly what it is. It's a life that's a point in your life where you can draw that line and say, I was this way till here, and after this point happened, this is a whole new existence.
yeah,
100%.
I mean, it's just like if somebody had a bad car wreck, it's the same thing. It's absolutely life changing, and you've got the life before that happened and the life after that happened.
yeah. And that's exactly true. I can literally divide my life from this moment, because
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah,
always into
I
it
bet.
before this, and then it became an absolute obsession, and it'll be an obsession till the day I die.
Oh yeah, 100%, 1,000%. That's exactly, you're dead on.
I did
Yep,
not
they'll
think I
not
would
be.
break down like that, though.
It doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing. At some point in every day, that's going to cross your mind. I don't care what you're doing. That's
Yeah.
going to cross your mind from now on.
Yeah, and every time, I learn something more about them, it has an effect on what happened to me. Like, for instance, I now realize that I honestly did not have a negative encounter. I mean, it didn't chase me, it didn't pace me, it didn't do anything, and yet I still, I'm sitting here trembling because I still feel the fear I felt that day,
Mm-hmm.
or that
Yes.
night. It was at nighttime.
Yep.
Okay, let me get this done.
Go ahead.
I was sitting there and I could hear something. This is like a teardrop shaped clearing with about a 15-foot little driveway that came in off of the road. And the road, there's the Mississippi River, the field where our cabin used to be. Then there's the road that got you down to the cabin, and this backwater is on the other side of the road. And you can look out from where I was sitting. I could look straight out and I could see, there's lights on the bridge. The river, of course, reflects moonlight. I couldn't tell you if the moon was shining. I can tell you that that clearing was very well illuminated for me. And I kept thinking I've spent half my life in the woods. There's only, in that part of Illinois, there's only one or two animals that I might not automatically recognize the sound of. And the
Right.
first one that comes to mind is a fox. And I honestly thought, this has got to be some kind of a fox back there, because I've only ever heard one recording that sounded even remotely similar to what I heard. I wouldn't call it samurai chatter. It was not a howl. It was not a scream. It was just sort of gibberish, but it wasn't like the gibberish samurai chatter that you hear. Almost sounded like a pecking noise. I can't explain exactly what it was. I heard one recording in all of these years, and man, the second I heard it, I knew that was it. That was what it was heard. But it kept going on and kept going on, and the more I heard it, the more I thought, if that's a fox, that is one big damn fox back there.
Right.
And so I kind of convinced myself, I think, at one point that it might have been a raccoon, because you know how they have that kind of a chatter sound that they do. But it's still, again, I thought that is one big freaking whatever is back there. It's way too big, and I could hear it kind of coming around, and I looked over, and like I said, I could see this clearing. Now this clearing it's wide enough for one vehicle. Maybe if you squeeze really tight, you don't mind the outside getting scratched up. You might get two to pass through that little driveway at the same time. But I wouldn't try it. I mean, I think it's more of a one vehicle little drive. And I was sitting down on a bucket. So of course anything look up, it's gonna just feel tall. I'm going to say it was probably 8 feet tall, but sitting where I was at, it looked like it was 10 feet tall. And it stepped across that clearing. And I don't mean it walked across. I mean, its foot was here on this side, and then this foot was on this side, and it never stepped in here at all. It had it that big of a, it was, and I didn't see it clearly because all I saw was the silhouette, but it looked like a man. I mean, it just looked like a really, really, really tall human being that had really thick legs and was, I didn't see it from the, like from the front. I saw it from the side, but it looked real barrel chested. And it stepped across the clearing and it went down into the water. And I put my head down and, okay, I know I'm a coward, but all I could think is I don't want to see what that is. I had a flashlight. I could have flashed the light out there because I heard it walk out to that little pond. Probably wasn't more than 4 or 5 feet deep, and I could hear it wade out in there. And I heard it splash around like, I don't know, it was taking a bath or grabbing a fish or what it was doing. But I remember putting my head down, and I remember thinking, I can't look. I don't want to know what this is. I'm not gonna. I wish I had. God, I wish I'd.
Neoma, how far was it, or how close was it to you when it stepped across?
Oh, probably 20 feet.
Oh wow, wow.
And then that pond is probably only about 60 feet long, 50 or 60 feet. And it's probably, I don't know how wide it is. It kind of goes off over here a little. It's not, no standard shape.
Yeah.
It got out. I heard it go all the way across. And it got out and it went up and it I guess it just went off in the woods. I don't know where it went.
And all this was right there where y'all's, like, just across the street from where your cabin was?
Just across from the cabin. Yeah. It's about that clearing. And I've been down there, not real recently. I guess it's about 4 or 5 years ago, because I don't live up there anymore. But we were home visiting, and I did drive down there, and that has all grown over. There's no little clearing there anymore. There's no little driveway. The cabin burned down years ago, so there's not even the cabin there anymore. You can still drive to under the bridge, and that area has become known as a place where gangsters go down, gang members go down, and they do executions down there. So people don't like to go down there much.
Hold on. House. Describe the legs and the chest of the thing that you saw cross street.
Oh, massive. I'm talking about massive. Like, a lot of people, and look, I'm just saying what I saw may be different than what a lot of people saw, or what they see. But, what I saw, everybody talks about how they're like, like a wedge, and they come down narrow at the waist, but big wide shoulders. The ones that I've saw that I've got really damn good looks at, these things were just massive. I'm talking about, it was, me and Kumbo was laughing because I told him, I said, hell, what's weird? The ones that I saw, it was like they had a down for not a better choice of words, was a damn badonka donka butt. These damn things had like a big, like their back came down. It was like
And
they just had big
yes,
a big old ass on them, and the legs looked like god dang, like the thighs looked like damn this big,
tree
like bigger than my
there were
torso.
trees.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like garbage cans. Yes, for legs. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about massive, and I mean, and when you tell people that what you saw was 8 foot plus in height, they're thinking of just like you see these basketball players that's, just like a stretched out person. Oh
But
no, no,
that
no,
ain't
no,
it.
no,
They're
no,
this way
that's
and they're
not.
stretched this way.
Yeah, yeah, yes, and I'm talking about when you got something that's like me, y'all can see me sitting here, but it's like as wide as my arms for his chest, and the thing from his chest to his backbone is like this thick. It you can't. It's like somebody took a Brahma bull and turned it upright and made like human like legs on it and arms, and it's like the torso is freaking massive. I mean, it's absolutely amazing when you finally do get to see one, and that's what it's really hard to put into words and describe it, where somebody that hadn't saw one can even grasp what you're talking about.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Interestingly, there was more to that. Of course, I immediately loaded up the kids, and I know everybody's probably heard this part, and I jumped in the car and honked the horn for my husband to come back, and then he didn't, so I went to look for the key, and he had apparently taken it with him, and I was trapped down there.
Oh wow.
But this is the part that is important to me. I got made fun of. I got called stupid. I got called crazy. I got called a liar. My husband and most of his friends just made a big joke out of it, and they made me feel freaking horrible for years, to the point
Wow.
where I would only tell the story to kids as sort of a, around the campfire thing. And part of my issue with it is that, I would build it up and I would tell things that, probably weren't true about it, but I was going for the scare. And there's nothing truly, if you just tell my story the way it happened, I didn't have a negative encounter. I had just an encounter. And
Well,
so
you had an encounter with negative consequences, because it's really hard to, like the situation you were in, you were helpless. I mean, just let's
yeah,
face it, you were at that thing's
Well,
mercy. You were helpless, and that's what makes it so traumatizing, is because when you see one of these things, depending on what you're doing and where you're at, and alone or with somebody, you're absolutely at their whim. I mean, there's really not much you're going to be able to do, especially like you were. I mean, undoubtedly you were probably unarmed, and even if you
yeah, it
had
was.
been unarmed, you were alone with your children. And oh my God, having your children there, that's a whole. Anybody out there, it's a parent. It ain't about you anymore. It's about them
and
kids.
I would point out, y'all, if you go back 30 minutes and watch Neoma telling stories,
Yeah.
the way she reacts, the way she is, and that versus what she just said, is there anybody that thinks that what she just said was a story like what she was telling earlier? And
There are a lot of people.
well, fuck all that. But
Yeah.
hold on, hold on. On a very real level, look at the way that she just told what she experienced versus the, the story are something that she does now because she's into it. She's experienced. And
Mhm.
thank you for telling your
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
you don't do that often, and thank you for actually telling that. But y'all, on a very human level, go back and look at whenever she was telling stories and look at the way that she behaved whenever she was telling her experience. I'm sorry to say, if you want to think that I am crazy, that's perfectly fine. There's no way that the person that just told that was the same person telling stories very educated about it. I 100% believe you. Thank you for sharing that publicly. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but
Yeah,
thank you for doing that.
you're
Yes.
welcome. The cool thing is, and I don't know if it's really cool, but there was one person who did believe me, and that's because he had seen what I think was a juvenile down there. So I wasn't the only person ever to have that experience down there, but I didn't really get to, hear his full story until a few years later. And then the other thing is in 1987 or 88, I'm not sure which, just across the river in a town called Eldridge, Iowa. Thank you, Sharon. There was a paper boy in the wintertime who was followed on his morning route. It must have been the Quad City Times because that was the only morning paper at the time. But he was followed on his morning route and had actually found big footprints later of what he was followed by. And that was across the river and up off the bluff, but still close enough that I feel like there's a certain amount of vindication because there are two people that I know in that same area, one in Iowa and another in the exact same area that I had mine, who saw something. I agree. That actually saw something that they couldn't describe, and so I have a certain amount of vindication in that, at least because I think the biggest problem for me is until then, and now since then, of course, it's just an obsession. I can't ever get enough of, read enough or learn enough or whatever. But until then, it was a fascination. But I honestly thought that if you didn't live in Washington or Arkansas, you either had to be, or Northern California, you either had to be at Willow Creek in Northern California, or you
Right.
had to be in Fouke, Arkansas to see one of these things.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I had even done a report once on Bigfoot. It was a speech class, and my speech was to prove that Bigfoot is real. And I had even pointed out that in all 50 states there have been sightings, but even in that speech, I didn't believe that at the time. Now I realize Illinois is actually, I think, number 14 in sightings,
Well,
mostly in southern Illinois, down around Murfreesboro and things like that.
to take a sighting, it means a booger and a person, and then a person that is going to report it. So, I mean, you can't get confused with all the numbers on, hey, this state has the most sightings.
Right. I agree. I totally agree with that.
Mhm.
But I have to say though that there is, I wasn't willing after the harassment I took for telling my story. I for probably my kids and their friends knew the story because, like I said, I would tell it as a campfire tale. But hey, Mark, um, um, Wayne Tetherow was telling me that he got to meet Mark at the Ozark. I think it was Bigfoot convention, and he's excited about that. But anyway, so um, it took me probably till about 2015 before I started talking about it at all, where I would tell the real encounter, what really happened, and tell it as and admit that it really did happen to me. And yeah, that, and it's fascinating. One of the things that it took for me to finally accept that it was, you know, that I could talk about it was this kid that had the paper route, 14-year-old kid. Of course, you know, this is many years later. He was a grown man when he was able to talk about it. But I thought if he can tell his story,
Right.
then maybe I can find people to tell my story to who won't offend me.
Well, you know, and I would say, as somebody that is in the Bigfoot world, like you are, I mean, people know you, they know your name. Uh, it matters even more to have people like you come out and say whatever happened to them. I
Yeah.
mean, and you know, I hate to say this, I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, but there are some people that are full of shit. There are some people that keep it bottled up and they don't ever tell anybody. And in my personal opinion, I think it matters that whenever you had real stuff, I think it matters that you actually come out and tell your stuff. And there are so many people watching these shows that have had real stuff happen and they are reluctant to talk about it. And y'all, if anybody watches this, if you see this, you think that what she is saying is not real, you're just not paying attention. If you watch this and you're, yeah, she gives me confidence to come forward, good. Good for you. I don't care what show you do it on. I mean, if you do it on our show, that's great. If you do it on some other show, that's great. I don't care. I know what the real deal is. I mean, Greg knows, Misty knows, a lot of people that we have on here know. But it takes a lot to actually say it. And a lot of times it's bottled up inside of you and you want to say it, but you don't because of other people in the Bigfoot community or your friends or something like that. And you think they're going to make fun of you. Uh,
Well, I just, for me, Spencer, too, just like with Neoma, uh, her encounter turned her into where she's at now.
yeah.
But I understand totally how, like her talking about she would add stuff to it or this, and that gave her a way to actually talk about this and
Yeah.
bring it out and voice it without ridicule. You know what I'm saying? Because she was actually being able to talk about it without being able to talk about it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I mean, and that believe it or not, I mean that's the way that she's coped with this. And you know, it's pretty damn awesome that she found a way to do that. Whether that's exactly what she was trying to or not, that's what happened. And
Well, we just jumped on here today and posted a public link, you know, and said, hey, if you want to get on here. And Neoma, we've known her for a while. Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm looking through the comments and everything. But anyway, we've known her for a while. I mean, I've heard her story firsthand, and I can promise you she has as much emotion. She had more today,
Yeah,
probably
I
because
wasn't quite
on,
prepared today to tell it.
I know you weren't, and I know I talked you into it, but because this is what we need, though. This is what we need. We need people willing to just say, hey, I'll do it, and talk out loud.
Yeah.
Y'all, there are a lot of us, if you're watching this show, there are a lot of us that have had damn encounters. experiences. Holy shit. If you're still worried about people making fun of you and everything, they're going to make fun of you either way. I hate to say that, but
Yeah.
they're going to make fun of you. Please at least do it in an audience with people that are paying attention to you and could possibly get something out of what you are saying. I mean, it takes a lot to do a Bigfoot show every week. It's very hard. We're constantly looking for guests and all that kind of stuff, and we don't want to keep talking about ourselves. I mean, holy shit. If Greg went into detail about his stuff, I mean, like
I've
Indy.
heard some of Greg's stuff.
Oh my,
Holy
Greg,
crap.
Greg's stuff is. I
Yeah.
mean, that I was looking for Greg for years before I found out who he was. But my point being, if you're gonna come clean, please, please put it out there. You are
Well,
part of a growing community of people that are telling this stuff. You have no idea how much guts it takes to go live and tell this stuff on a YouTube show. That these people are the bravest of the brave. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, what I wanted to say is you take people just like my buddy Alan. I mean, everybody knows Alan. You know, it took Al as much as he's witnessed, as much as he's been through it with me. It was tough on Al. It's still tough on him to go through and relive what happened right here where I'm sitting. I'm about, he was right here.
Right.
You know, you got like Katie G. Bless her heart. We love her. I mean, it takes, you have to, it's hard to talk about. And then you're worried about people ridiculing and all that. It makes it worse. But it's hard to even explain the level of bravery that it takes and
Yeah.
how much, like Neoma and Katie and Al and some of the others, how much that can inspire other people and comfort them in knowing what's happened to them, that there are people out there, legitimate folks that are telling the truth, that know what you've been through. And when you step up and do what y'all done and hell, what I've been trying to do, and you know, talk to people and express it. I mean, believe it or not, there's going to be a lot of people out here that's going to see this that's probably never talked to anybody about what's happened to them. And I know it's got to make them feel better. So, and you know, for me, I held it back a long time. And then I saw the way that once I had people reach out to me, like Bill White, and then he hooked me up with Coonbo, I saw what it did for me and how much it made me feel better. And I wanted to help make other people feel better. That's why I finally started talking.
I was going to tell you this early, and this is a little off topic, but I started listening. There used to be, and I don't remember what it was called, but there was like a website way back in the early days of the internet where Coonbo and his friends would all, there was like, it was like a message board where they would talk.
Yeah.
And that's where I first heard about him and started following him. So you remember the freeze and greet or the greet and freeze or whatever we called it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He happened to be at that one, and I had the most embarrassing fangirl moment with him. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. My husband was like, we're going home. I'm embarrassed of you.
Oh my gosh.
It was just, you know, a nice little.
You know, and Neoma, that's the thing about Coonbo. Coonbo's the most approachable dude you'll ever meet.
Yes.
Oh, he was super nice. I mean, you know, really super nice, but I totally fangirled on him. To the point that even I was embarrassed by the way I acted.
The first 2 times I saw Coonbo, like I wouldn't even speak. I was just so impressed listening to him talk in person. Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt him.
Exactly. That's exactly the way I am. And that's really says a lot because I almost never shut up. But he really, I'll never forget that. I still, my face is a little flushed today because of some medicine I took. But if it wasn't flushed, it would be now. Just because every time you say his name, I get embarrassed thinking about how I acted that day.
Your hair is really good. If that makes up for it, your hair is.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, Spencer.
Wild hair.
Once again, brother. I mean, we wasn't even gonna have a show, and we
No.
turned something into like an awesome show today, thanks to Neoma and Wendell coming on with us. I mean, we always got to have Wendell somewhere in the background. He's rooting for us.
Well, I mean, hey, KDG did not want to tell her story. And let me say, not trying to put her on the spot. Al didn't want to tell his story.
Mm-hmm.
KDG gave confidence to Al to start talking about. And y'all, if you don't know where Greg is sitting right now, probably 15, 20 feet behind him is the gas tank, the propane tank. There you go.
Okay.
Yep. Where Al talks about the thing being behind. Y'all, I cannot express this enough. I don't know how to say this other than we are being as legitimate, as real as we can be. We're real people. We talk about if you met us in person at the meet and greet and everything, you can vouch for this. We are the same way on this show as we are in person. If you've ever been to Greg's man cave, and a lot of people have at this point, it's damn cat, that was loud. This is the real thing. I don't know what y'all are watching on YouTube, but this is the real thing. This is very real people talking about what happened to them. And I would also say, holy shit, y'all, we need more people. At this point, we're almost 3,000 subscribers. We need more people to reach out and contact us and be willing to say what they have experienced. Hold on one sec. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. That's the email right there. That's the email. This is an impromptu kind of show. We weren't going to do a show. We're just sitting here bullshitting, really. But this is an impromptu show. If you had a real experience, you want to talk about it, please. I promise you, you will be welcome on this show. We will let you say whatever you want to say. We're not going to embarrass you or make fun of you. You can get it all out. And you will have a group of people that are supporting whatever you want to say. I don't know any other way to put that. Now,
well, I'd like to tell anybody that's not that if they're finding us fresh out of the gate now or whatever,
yeah,
catch one of these lives. If y'all are watching this and this is already the show's been over for a while or whatever, if you don't catch one of our live shows, jump over into the live chat.
yes.
Start reading what the people that our family look at how these people are. I mean, watch a couple of those and jump into that live chat. Speak to those folks. Type them out a message. Talk to them. Ask questions. You'll see that this is some of the most honest, greatest people you'll ever meet.
I want to say that. I want to tell you guys, I met you through the meet and greets. That's how I know you guys. I have never felt more comfortable. I mean, telling my story there, I wasn't as prepared as I probably should have been to tell it, but I still felt so comfortable sitting around that fire with people. I mean, there's this welcoming feeling around you guys that is so amazing. And
Wow.
I hate that I didn't get to go to the last one, but my husband was like, "I don't want you driving that far alone." Yeah, and he knew he wouldn't make it home for that. And then it turns out I had a conference in Ohio that I had to go to last weekend, and he didn't make it home for that either. And I wound up driving all that way alone, and that was farther. And I was like, "Damn it, Brad!" I could have gone to the meet and greet.
Yeah, and hey, everybody too, if y'all seeing this, if y'all hadn't checked out our Facebook page, jump over on Facebook. Look at the stuff everybody posts. Jump over and message some of these people. I mean, find out what we're about. I mean, we're just real people talking about real stuff.
Y'all, we're family. If I mean, we're extended family, but we're family, and ain't nobody at anything that we do or go to or the show or anything. If y'all are worried about saying anything that you've had bottled up, don't be that way with us. I promise you. We'll.
But I'm going to tell you something right now. You guys need to understand. Every family has that one crazy person. These are all those crazy people in that family put together in one group.
We are. But hey, we're being very real. And even though we do a damn Bigfoot YouTube show, if you have something to talk about seriously, and man, I cannot express enough. If you care about wilderness survival, camping, hunting, fishing, barbecuing, anything. I mean, I don't even know. Greg, you can weigh in on this, but anything, whatever. Hey,
White sauce.
Yeah. Look, Neoma, come on now.
I've never had white sauce. I can't tell you
Right,
if it's good or bad, but
Don't.
They were let down. I didn't even take any to the meat grade. I carried I smoked 40 pounds of pork, and I forgot to get the mayonnaise to make the white sauce. I'm like, well, I just have to do without it. So next time I'm bringing white sauce.
well,
God,
next time I'm going to be there if I have to walk. So
his barbecue was really good, y'all. If you missed out on the meat and greet, Greg's pulled pork was really good. I sandwich. It was great.
Greg can cook.
Yes, he can. And jambalaya. Damn.
Oh man, that was so good.
Anyway,
I love that jambalaya.
anyway. Point, and y'all, we got to get off here. But thank you, Neoma. Thank you. I'm sorry. I took a lot of guts. I'm sorry I had to lead you into that. Thank you very much.
This is where I wish they would fix it where we could like give a virtual hug.
Yes.
Well, there is a sign of that. I don't know what it is, but I speak a little bit of sign language because I used to have to work with people.
I think it's just this.
I want to say it's this, but I'm not sure. I can't remember.
This.
Oh, hey, by the way, we got to go ahead and wish the man sitting right here by me happy birthday. Your birthday's when? Tomorrow? Next day? When?
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking about you.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Look at that.
What, 19, 20, 21?
Big 48. I was born in 76. I'm a 76 model.
Wow. Bicentennial edition.
Yeah.
My 40s were the best decade of my life. I had so much fun in my 40s.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing pretty good for where I'm at, so I can't complain. Hey, y'all, for everybody that watched this, thank you. Again, wasn't supposed to be any big show or anything. Neoma, you made the whole show.
Yeah. Thanks. Enjoyed it. Thank you so much for opening up and sharing. And yeah,
thanks
wow,
for having
awesome.
patience with me.
Heartfelt. I mean, heartfelt.
Yeah.
And
hey, but sometime soon, maybe we can get you back on to just go over some of your stories.
Anytime you want. I love telling stories. All you have to do is send me a link and I'll be there.
hey, look, me and Misty, mate, like this Halloween month, we may do a night owls. Get you some super scary stories, spooky something.
I'll tell you all my scary ghost stories because I have a lot of ghost stories that actually happened to me. So.
Hey,
there we go.
Yeah, and I've heard some of those, and those are really good. Get Neoma on the night owls thing. And how, before you go, where's that tattoo? House and Misty got matching tattoos.
I can't get my leg up here yet. Hey, they have to go on the Woodwalker Facebook. Y'all say, me and Misty went and got owls or not owls tattoos. I got mine down here on my calf. Misty got hers a little more located up here between the twins.
It's like right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. That was an awesome deal. Yeah, but we'll have to save that for a night owl. We'll go through the whole shebang of that deal. Y'all don't miss out on that. That's funny as hell.
Neoma, hold on backstage. Just
Okay.
stay. Don't leave. All right, y'all. We're gonna jump off here. Love you.
Yep. Big love, guys.
All right. See y'all. Hold on. I gotta find all this shit whenever I'm on here. Okay. I don't know which one is. I think it's this one. Okay. Bye.
Fingers crossed.
Squirrel.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Spencer. We're swapped around again.
Huh?
We're swapped around again.
Yep. I know you do it on purpose.